everybody. Thank you for joining our first webinar for LunaRecycle Phase 2. The challenge officially launched on Monday, August 11th. And the goal of this webinar is really to help you understand what we're looking for in Phase 2, do a walkthrough of the rules so you can get a good understanding of what is expected, and also get a feeling for what the submission platform looks like and how it works. You'll be learning a lot today, probably too much to digest in one sitting. So this webinar will be recorded and will be able to be played on demand going forward to answer any of your questions. Next slide. So our agenda today, we'll do a little bit of welcome and housekeeping. We'll talk about who are the key organizations and people that are working on this challenge. These are folks you should know for when you have questions, etc. We'll do an overview of who we are as Centennial Challenges, which is one of NASA's prize arms. And then we'll go into the why behind the LunaRecycle Challenge, and especially the why behind Phase 2 of the LunaRecycle Challenge. We'll then dig deep into the rules, what to expect, what is expected of you, how you would submit, what the judging is, and then we'll walk you through how to register and the registration platform. We'll end with some open Q&A and then some wrap up and next steps. Just a little bit of housekeeping. As we are premiering this webinar on YouTube, as you know, since you are here, you'll be able to submit your questions throughout using our live Q&A function, which is in the upper right-hand side of this video. We will do our best to answer questions as we go, but we do have some space set aside at the end to get to those that we are unable to get to during the webinar itself. Please know that all answers that we give today are accurate and current as of this webinar. For the most up-to-date information, because some of these things may change, we want you to visit lunarecyclechallenge.ua.edu. That's where we post all of our FAQs, and you can find other information there. And that is all the most recent information for the challenge. Any relevant questions we get that we do answer here or that we cannot answer here, we may not be able to answer all questions, just depending on how many come in, we will turn into FAQs on our website. You can find the rules, FAQs, recordings of webinar, all that on that same website, lunarecyclechallenge.ua.edu. If you have any questions after this webinar, there is only one way that we can get that information, and that is by emailing lunarecycle@ua.edu. We cannot respond to any inquiries to us directly, to our LinkedIn, to any other email addresses associated with NASA or us. So if you have any questions, please make sure you send them to lunarecycle@ua.edu. So who do we have today, and who are those key organizations that are participating and administrating this challenge? So first, we have NASA Centennial Challenges. My name is Chris Frangione. I'm Challenge Manager. I work with NASA Centennial Challenge as a contractor. So we at NASA Centennial Challenges, we led the challenge development, and we are leading the execution of this competition to ensure that all outcomes meet NASA's needs and goals. So when we put these challenges together, we really do a lot of work to understand where are those technology gaps that NASA needs some help filling, and where can we leverage the crowd to help us with that. We also are the ones that provide the prize funds. Those funds come directly from NASA, so if you are one of the winners, which we hope you are, you will get those funds from NASA. The University of Alabama, they are what's called our allied organization, and they help administer this challenge, and they will be responsible for all the team agreements, making sure you are eligible to participate and compete. And they maintain that website that we just talked about earlier. Within NASA, we also have a couple main centers that support us. Marshall Space Flight Center, they helped us with defining the challenge goals and technical requirements. And then also Kennedy Space Center, who has provided technical support. Finally, we have a partner on here with us, Space Factory, who, as you will hear from them, are going to provide some resources to the teams, including some mentoring support for finalist teams. Next slide. So these are the folks that you have on this webinar today. I'm not going to introduce them all because I'll allow them to introduce themselves when it comes to them. But I am going to ask two folks to speak up. First is Rajiv with the University of Alabama.
Thanks, Chris. This is Rajiv Doraiswamy. I'm the Director of Space Technology and Engineering Research at the University of Alabama, and the university is really proud to be the allied organization for the LunaRecycle Challenge. We're looking forward to an excellent competition and some wonderful submissions, and we are really happy and eager to administer this challenge on behalf of NASA. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv. And David.
Thank you, Chris. So I'm David Millant, founder and CEO of Space Factory. We were the winners of NASA's Mars 3D Printed Habitat Challenge. And personally, as a former Centennial Challenge participant, I know how much these competitions can push the limits. We're here as a sounding board for any team, whether it's engineering challenges, organizational hurdles, or leadership mentoring. We'll be posting open office hours when you can bring us your toughest questions or ideas. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you. So both of those folks are going to be great resources. Rajiv on the side of making sure your team is eligible, etc. And then David, having been a past participant and winner, really helping you understand how to navigate these opportunities. And we will have more details, as David said, on how to leverage his team through some some office hours you can sign up for. Those will come later in the next few months. So I'm going to now pass this off to Jennifer, who's going to give you a quick overview of NASA's Centennial Challenges, who we are, why we do challenges such as this, and then also the why NASA is interested in the LunaRecycle Challenge. Jennifer?
Hey, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's webinar. I'm Jennifer Edmondson, the Acting Program Manager for Centennial Challenges, and I'm happy to share with you some of the highlights of the Centennial Challenges program. Next slide. You may be asking why this program is called Centennial, and that's because it was born on the 100th anniversary of the Wright brothers' first flight. The Wright brothers did something that was never done before. Their feat of flying a heavier-than-air vehicle was so audacious that it continued to inspire technology development, and it served as the inspiration for Centennial Challenges. We strive to be audacious and tackle the difficult issues that NASA faces every day by crowdsourcing innovation. Essentially, we're looking for people like you to help NASA close our technology gaps. Technology gaps are the missing technologies that we need to be able to thrive in space, such as a recycling system to handle the fabric, plastic, and structural trash that comes with human spaceflight. Centennial has the honor of being the first and largest prize program within NASA. After the program was created in 2003, it took 2 years to develop and launch our first challenge, but once we got the hang of it, the sky was no longer the limit. Next slide. The organization chart on this slide shows where Centennial Challenges lies within the Space Technology Mission Directorate within NASA. The Centennial Challenges program is run out of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center located in Huntsville, Alabama. It is part of the Prizes, Challenges, and Crowdsourcing program within the Early Stage Innovations and Partnerships program, which also runs programs such as the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer within NASA. The Early Stage Innovations and Partnerships Office, which we are now calling Catalyst within the Space Technology Mission Directorate, was set up to provide ways for NASA and industry and academia, and honestly the general population, to provide input to and collaborate with NASA to close technology gaps that are the barriers to successfully living off Earth. For example, the LunaRecycle Challenge offers a significant prize purse to inventors who can come up with creative ways to minimize the size of a lunar landfill by making trash recyclable into things like t-shirts, critical manufactured parts like gears, or things as simple as a spoon, or even something like construction material. Next slide. Centennial has had active challenges for 20 years now. The LunaRecycle Challenge is our 23rd challenge. Over the last 20 years, we have had challenges that have run for multiple years and some fairly short challenges. We've also had a variety of different topics, including power beaming, excavation of planetary surface material called regolith, sample return robotics and autonomy, 3D printed habitat designing and building using locally available materials, and coming up with devices to use for cooking and the recipes to go with them for crew members on in-space or planetary surface missions. Next slide. Within the 23 competitions run to date, we've had 786 teams compete. That's a lot of ideas shared with NASA by inventors just like you. Next slide. Within those 786 teams are people from all over the world. In fact, 90 countries have participated in the Centennial Challenges. Unfortunately, we're not able to award international teams cash prizes, but we do acknowledge the winning participants and their work is viewed by NASA and world-renowned subject matter experts. Success stories from various companies that got their start with Centennial Challenges have been highlighted in the NASA spinoff magazine. Next slide. In the United States, 49 out of 50 states have participated in a NASA Centennial Challenge. All we're missing is Vermont, so if you know anyone that lives in that state, we would definitely be interested in having them participate. So please give them a call and let them know about the LunaRecycle Challenge. Next slide. Over the last 20 years, Centennial has awarded $24.2 million in prizes to teams that have provided innovative solutions to close technology gaps. Can you imagine yourself getting a rather large check by winning the LunaRecycle Challenge? Next slide, please. The people who have participated in Centennial Challenges are not always engineers. We've had scientists, various colleges and university students and faculty members, small business interests and startups, as well as major industry players, garage inventors, and general hobbyists. You don't have to have a four-year college degree to participate in our challenges. You just have to have an idea and the willingness to show us how great it is. I look forward to meeting all of you who participate in phase 2 of LunaRecycle. So why is NASA interested in doing this challenge? Because everything we send into space is precious and very expensive. We want to make sure that everything that we send can be used for its maximum benefit. With longer duration missions and destinations farther from Earth, trash management and recycling are crucial to the future of NASA spaceflight. NASA needs to reduce the need for frequent resupply missions and make spaceflight as low cost as possible. That can be done through recycling efforts, which will use everything on board to the maximum extent possible. Trash can be used for making things like new towels or washcloths, utensils for eating, or critical spaceflight hardware manufactured on demand in life-threatening situations. This enables the crew to be self-sufficient and not to have to rely on rescue from Earth. In space manufacturing, the capability that allows crews to produce spare parts on demand from feedstock available in situ, which means in place, coupled with the recycling of trash into manufacturing feedstock, provides that self-sufficiency and Earth independence for crew. In addition to maximizing the resources available and the ability to produce critical space hardware parts on demand, the Moon to Mars architecture highlights reuse and responsible use as key tenets of long-term mission success. A successful mission is an economically sustainable mission. That's why the NASA Space Technology Mission Directorate, Science Mission Directorate, and the Exploration Systems Development Mission Directorate support activities such as the LunaRecycle Challenge. Also, recycling has been called out specifically in the Space Technology Mission Directorate shortfalls and the Science Mission Directorate Biological and Physical Sciences Decadal Survey, so we know there is a desire to explore recycling solutions from the public. Next slide. So during the last football season, our awesome communication strategist created this example of how much trash is produced by a crew member every day. This does not include human waste, and the LunaRecycle Challenge will not be addressing human waste. Each day, a crew member produces 1.5 kilograms or 3.3 pounds of trash, which is approximately the size of 5 American footballs. Over a week, that number becomes 10 kilograms or 22 pounds, which is equivalent to 32 footballs. And over a month, one crew member can produce 43.5 kilograms or 95.9 pounds of trash, which equates to 138 footballs. That's a lot of trash. So just to give you further visual of what 138 footballs of trash means, a stack of 138 footballs would reach a height of about 1.5 times the height of an average 6'2" football player. So that's a lot of trash. To keep a giant landfill off the lunar surface, we need to recycle as much of the trash as possible, and that is why the LunaRecycle Challenge is so important. Next slide. In addition to the prototype build, the teams will have the option to produce a digital twin of their prototype. A digital twin is an amazing tool that allows developers to build computer models of their prototypes and test them in a virtual environment. The digital twin considers the materials or makeup of the prototype, as well as the physical and mechanical properties of the prototype, and predicts how the prototype would behave under various scenarios, such as lunar day-night thermal swings or added stresses from off-nominal operations. The information gathered from these models allows for iteration of the design of the prototype to optimize its performance in real time. Essentially, digital twins allow developers to test and iterate the design of their equipment before they actually build the physical prototype. Because this saves money and eliminates hardware build iterations, digital twins are considered the new standard in industry. Next slide. The ultimate goal of the LunaRecycle Phase 2 challenge is to have prototypes developed that can prove the concept of recycling various materials typically used by the crew during spaceflight, which will be used during the lunar surface operations in the future. The requirements for prototype development, which will be discussed a bit during the challenge overview to follow, are in alignment with the NASA Moon to Mars strategy and objectives and complement other ongoing NASA research and development efforts. Our desire is to accelerate the near-term results and define the future of recycling systems for use in space. So thank you for your attention, and I'll hand it over to Elisa Ferguson to cover the LunaRecycle Phase 2 challenge overview.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm Elisa Ferguson, and I'm the lead for the challenge rules. Let me first note that everything we're reviewing today can be found in the challenge rules document, which you can find on the website lunarecyclechallenge.ua.edu. There are also additional details about the competition in the rules. If you're interested in competing and you haven't already read the rules, please do so. We'll start with an overview of the key elements of the challenge and then get into more of the technical details. Next slide. The LunaRecycle Challenge is a $3 million two-phase competition focused on the development of solutions that can transform common trash items into useful feedstocks and end products on the surface of the Moon and Mars. Phase 1 of the challenge ended in June of this year, and we are now in Phase 2 of the challenge. Next slide. Some of you may be familiar with Phase 1 of the challenge. There are several important differences in Phase 2. First is that there are not separate tracks for prototype solutions and digital twin solutions. In Phase 2, all teams are required to develop a prototype, and teams have the option of also developing a digital twin of their prototype and compete for the digital twin prizes. The second change is that Phase 2 is only open to US teams. In some cases, US teams may include foreign nationals, and you should review the legal requirements of the challenge rules for more details. Some other differences are highlighted here, and we'll talk more about these later in the presentation. For now, you'll see that Phase 2 will have 2 rounds of competition, culminating in a demonstration of hardware. There are smaller, more focused number of eligible trash items, and there'll be more cash prizes available. Next slide. So in Phase 2, there will be 2 rounds of competition, a milestone round and a final round. We're in the milestone round right now. The milestone round is open to all eligible teams. You're not required to have competed in Phase 1 in order to compete in Phase 2. In the milestone round, teams will submit and be judged on a preliminary design of their solution. After the milestone round judging, up to 20 finalist teams will be invited to compete in the final round. In the final round, teams will submit a final design and demonstrate their hardware at a live event. Both of these will be judged to determine the winners. Next slide. Here you can see an overview of the expected timeline for Phase 2. Phase 2 is expected to last 13 months. The most important date to keep in mind right now is the deadline to register and submit to the milestone round, which is January 22nd, 2026. Next slide. Here you can see that there's a total of $2 million in prize money available in Phase 2. There are prizes for prototype solutions and digital twin solutions, and there are prizes in both the milestone round and the final round. In the milestone round, a total of up to $750,000 is available. Next slide. In the final round, we're also offering several different prizes for specific technical achievements. You can see these listed here and in the challenge rules. There'll be prizes for the best overall solutions, as well as prizes for things like most innovative, highest energy efficiency, and most trash types recycled. We'll also have a People's Choice Award that's based on voting at the final round demonstration. Teams are allowed to win multiple prizes, and there are a lot of different ways that you can win them. Next slide. So next we'll go into a bit more detail on the technical requirements for Phase 2 of the challenge. One of the most important differences between Phase 1 and Phase 2 is that in Phase 2, a prototype solution is required and a digital twin solution is optional. In Phase 2, you cannot submit only a digital twin. In the next few slides, we'll look at the technical requirements for prototypes in Phase 2. Next slide. In terms of the scope of the recycling process, teams don't need to worry about sorting and cleaning of trash items. You can assume that trash items are already sorted and not contaminated by dust or food or anything else. We do want you to include in your design any pre-processing of trash items, so things like shredding, heating, or melting that happen prior to recycling. For some solutions, pre-processing and recycling may be one integrated process, and for others, they may be more separate. Either approach is fine. We just want you to include both parts of the process in your design, regardless of the approach. You'll also see a note here under pre-processing that teams must include pre-processing in the design, but it's optional during the demonstration. The challenge rules explain some alternative approaches that teams may take for the demonstration if they do not want to build and demonstrate pre-processing hardware. At the end of your recycling process, you need to have a usable output, which can be one or more feedstocks or finished end products, or a combination of both. It's up to teams to define and characterize their usable outputs. Next slide. For the scale of the solution, we've defined a minimum amount of trash that teams should design and build for. This is referred to in the challenge rules as the minimum batch requirements. Teams must design and demonstrate a solution that recycles at least one batch of one or more eligible trash items. A batch may contain a single eligible trash item or multiple items. Teams may define their own batch. In terms of the size of the batch, if a batch contains a single item, it must contain at least 500 grams of the item. And if a batch contains multiple items, it must have a total mass of at least 500 grams, and each item must represent at least 10% of the total mass. The challenge rules provide some examples of batches that meet or don't meet the minimum batch requirements. Next slide. Now we'll look at the eligible trash items. In Phase 2, there are 8 eligible trash items. We reduced this list compared to Phase 1 in order to simplify the challenge and the demonstration and to focus on the most critical items for which NASA does not currently have good solutions. Next slide. In the challenge rules, you'll find a table that details these 8 eligible trash items. All of the eligible items in Phase 2 were also part of Phase 1, but please note that many of the commercial equivalents have changed. This is important because in the final round demonstration, all teams will be using the commercial equivalents listed here. Next slide. Finally, for the prototype solution in Phase 2, teams are not required to address or design for any lunar environmental conditions. That's because the hardware demonstrations will take place in Earth ambient conditions. Next slide. So now we'll move on to the technical requirements for digital twin solutions. Remember that in Phase 2, digital twin solutions are optional, and teams are not allowed to submit just a digital twin without a prototype. Next slide. In terms of the scope for the digital twin solution, your digital twin must be a model of your team's prototype. It should not be a model of an entirely different approach or solution. We're asking teams in Phase 2 to model two types of scenarios using the digital twin, a nominal scenario and off-nominal scenarios. Next slide. The nominal scenario mimics the conditions in which teams will demonstrate their prototypes during the final round demonstration. The off-nominal scenarios reflect different options for modeling how your prototype would operate in situations different from the final demonstration. Teams may choose among 4 off-nominal scenarios, one focused on expanded capabilities, one where a power outage occurs, one where the prototype operates on the lunar surface or on Mars, or a different scenario that the team itself designs. In the milestone round, a team's digital twin must model one off-nominal scenario, and in the final round, a team's digital twin must model 2 off-nominal scenarios. Next slide. So now we'll move on to an overview of the submissions and judging. Next slide. In the milestone round, all teams are required to submit a preliminary design of their prototype solution. This includes 3 items. First is a completed submission template. If you participated in Phase 1, you'll be familiar with our submission templates. The template is a list of all the questions and information that you're required to address in your submission. The submission template can be found in the challenge rules document, and it's also available to download as a standalone document on the challenge website. Please be sure to use the submission template and answer all of the sections, otherwise your submission may be deemed incomplete and not judged. We'll be posting a more detailed tutorial on how to fill out the template later this fall. The second item required is a short video showing your progress on your prototype solution. In this video, you may show hardware components, testing or analysis, or any other evidence that demonstrates your team's capabilities to compete if you are invited to the final round. Please be sure that your video link is publicly accessible and that it does not require any login or special access to a software platform. Finally, we're asking all teams to submit a preliminary demonstration proposal. This proposal will not be judged. Its purpose is to help us plan for the final round demonstration. There's also a template for this preliminary demonstration proposal. You can find it in the challenge rules and on the challenge website. Next slide. You can see the prototype judging criteria for the milestone round here and in the challenge rules, including an explanation of the criteria and their relative weight. The criteria are completeness, vision and innovation, feasibility, system operating requirements, usefulness of outputs, and the team's development plan. Next slide. In order to be eligible for a milestone round prize, teams must achieve a minimum score of 60 points out of 100. However, some teams may be invited to compete in the final round, even though they did not win a prize. In order to be eligible to be invited to the final round, teams must achieve a minimum score of 50 points and either rank among the top 20 teams for prototypes or achieve a score of 70 points or above on their digital twin, if, of course, the team has chosen to submit a digital twin. These requirements are intended to incentivize teams to submit their digital twin solutions and ensure a variety of solutions are invited to compete in the final round. Next slide. For the digital twin submission, there are also 3 required items. First is a presentation that addresses all of the requirements outlined in the digital twin submission requirements document. Like the prototype template, this document can be found in the challenge rules and on the challenge website. The second item is a recording of someone from the team giving the presentation. And this recording must also include a preliminary version of a digital twin visualization showing the nominal scenario and one off-nominal scenario. Finally, there are a few questions in the preliminary demonstration proposal template related to the digital twin demonstration. You can include your answers to these in the same document as your preliminary demonstration proposal for the prototype. And again, this proposal is only for informational purposes and will not be judged. Next slide. Here you can see the digital twin judging criteria for the milestone round. This is also in the challenge rules. The criteria are completeness, vision and innovation, digital twin architecture, fidelity to the prototype solution, fidelity to the off-nominal scenarios, and the quality of the visualization. Next slide. And the scoring requirements for digital twin prizes and for being invited to compete in the final round are the same as for the prototype. Next slide. We won't spend a lot of time discussing the final round in this webinar, but more details are available in the challenge rules, and we'll host a webinar for finalists with more information at the beginning of the final round next year. For now, you can see here what the expected submission requirements are for each type of solution. In the final round, teams will first submit a final design for their prototype in July of 2026, and then they will bring their working prototype hardware to a centralized location for demonstration in August of 2026. For teams that are also competing for the digital twin prizes, they will also first submit a presentation of their digital twin in July, and then make a final presentation at the demonstration event in August. Next slide. Here you can see some of the requirements and details about the final demonstration. Preliminary details about what will be required at the demonstration and how it will work are included in the challenge rules. However, the location of the final demonstration has not been confirmed yet, and we'll be providing many more details once it has been. For now, you can see that both the prototype and the digital twin demonstrations are planned to occur during a single week. During that week, teams will operate their prototypes and recycle at least 1 and up to 3 batches of trash. Judges and other observers will record teams' performance so that it can be evaluated in the final judging. If a team demonstrates more than 1 cycle, the best performing cycle is the one that will be recorded and judged. Teams that are competing for the digital twin prizes will also present their digital twin to judges and observers during the demonstration week. Next slide. Here you can see some of the details about judging in the final round. For the prototype solution, the final design is worth 50% of the score, and performance during the demonstration is worth 50%. And for the digital twin, the breakdown is the same. 50% of the score will be for the submission, and 50% will be for the demonstration. The final judging and the announcement of winners is currently expected to take place at the end of the demonstration week in August of 2026. Next slide. Okay, so now that we've covered the rules and requirements, we'll be moving on to how to register. Next slide. I'll go through a few points here, and then I'll turn it over to Josh Newbert from the Institute of Competition Sciences. He'll walk through the registration platform and the steps you'll need to complete in order to register. First, as I mentioned at the top, Phase 2 is only open to U.S. teams. U.S. teams, in some cases, may include foreign nationals, and you should read the legal requirements section of the challenge rules in order to understand more about eligibility. We always get a lot of questions about eligibility, and most questions are answered already in the challenge rules. So please review the legal requirements section of the rules before you submit your questions. Registering for the challenge has a few steps. First, you'll need to create your team at the ICS platform. Josh will walk you through this process in a few minutes. On the platform, you'll also need to upload a completed team agreement. The team agreement is a legal agreement between teams and the University of Alabama, which administers the challenge. You must use the team agreement template that we will provide. This document will be available soon. Please be sure to fill out all of the required sections of the team agreement and sign it. Your team is not registered for the challenge if you haven't completed a team agreement. In addition, all teams are legally required to provide proof of citizenship for all team members and proof of insurance or financial responsibility. These documents should be uploaded using a link that you will find on the ICS platform. That link is not live yet, but it will be soon. Finally, I want to note that the insurance requirement for the milestone round is $5,000. However, in the final round, the requirement will be higher, potentially up to $250,000. We'll work with teams that are invited to compete in the final round to update their insurance or financial responsibility information. We know that insurance can sometimes be an administrative burden for teams, but it's required by federal law, and so we cannot waive it. Okay, so now I'll turn it over to Josh to walk through how to register on the ICS platform.
Great, thanks, Lisa. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to do a live walkthrough of the platform, for everybody that's on with us here. So I'm going to start us out, from the very basics. So when you click on the link to register, you'll come to something that might look like this. And the first thing that you'll need to do is create an account. So if you already have an account from phase 1, you will use the same account that you have. You don't need to create a new account if you participated in phase 1. The platform is the same and has the same user information in there. So, if you're part of phase 1, go ahead and log in with your existing credentials. If you didn't participate in phase 1, it's really simple to create a new account. Just input your basic account information and an email address, confirm the address, and you'll get in there. When you first get to the platform, you would see something like this. And again, because my account was part of phase 1, I can see past phase 1 teams in there. So, those would be your past teams, for any phase 1 participants. You don't have to do anything with those. If you're not a phase 1 participant, you won't see them in there because you didn't have any teams in that competition. So then to get started with your phase 2 registration, you would simply click this button here, and that will bring up the registration piece, for phase 2 competition. So you'll come to the basic information about your team, which is shown here. So you have to create a team name. There's information to input an organization, where you're located, city, country, state or region. An organization is not required. It is required to put something in here, but you don't have to be affiliated with an organization. So you can simply input unaffiliated or independent, in the organization information here. So I'm going to go ahead and just, fill something out. So we can see what happens when we go forward, through the next piece of your registration. So we input our information, we click register the team, and that will bring up this screen. And it says, this red box that says required fields and additional information must be completed. So this is what Elisa was just talking about, needing to input your team agreement. We ask that you input the name of your team leader. If that's yourself, just put your name in there. If it's somebody else, please make sure that we know who the team leader is officially in this information. And then you need to confirm that you have done your proof of citizenship and acknowledge your insurance requirements. So I'm going to go ahead and just put up some random information. So I guess I need to actually choose my file before I try to upload it. I'm going to just put a random file in here and I'm going to upload that. I'm going to be my own team leader. And for now, I'm just going to confirm these. Remember that the link for your information here is not yet live, so that will be shared shortly. Right now we just have a coming soon a bit of information there. So once you've completed that information, you just update your registration. And now that'll say your registration is saved, the red box is gone, and now you see these other tabs of information for your team. So this is where you can come in, and I'm only going to highlight a few of them, but I just want to talk over all of them. So news is where you might see a little bit of information from our team members posted here, some updates about the challenge. The timeline has your specific milestones, in what's coming up in the challenge. So you can always go back to this timeline tab and see the specific milestones, coming up. I do want to highlight the resources and files tab, a little bit, because in here are all those templates and a link back to the official rules, a link back to the official challenge website at the University of Alabama. You'll be able to find your team agreement template and some of these other templates that will be useful in your submission under your resources and files. And then the last thing I want to highlight is this rounds and submissions. So to start out with, as Lisa was saying, everybody will be able to input or submit to the milestone round. So this is your first round. It's what everybody will see when they come into the challenge. So you'll be able to submit, on the milestone round simply by clicking this edit button, over here on the right-hand side. So the rest of the information is more, background informative. You'll be able to get your scores, you'll be able to update, team members here. But remember, all of your members need to be officially listed on the team agreement when you submit that. So with that, that's the entire registration portal. One last point that we want to highlight is that you should remember your official team number, your team ID. That'll always be listed on this page. When you have it. So that's something that's unique to your team and will be helpful in coming back. If you ever have questions, we can make sure to reference your official team ID in case there are certain team names or things like that that might be similar. The last thing I want to end with is, when you come back, so after, you can always come back to your team at any later point and edit or update things. So whenever you come back, if you're going simply to the dashboard, you'll again see this information. So now you can see we just added this Newbert test team to on here. So you can always come back to your team or teams if you're a part of more than one team, to edit the information there. So when you're coming back in, you'll just click on that and it'll take you back into your team information. So that's how you register, where you'll go to submit and update or edit any of your team information.
So thank you, Josh and Elisa, for walking everybody through the rules and also the platform. The most important thing is to always check the rules. We get a lot of questions that can be answered just by rereading the rules, and also check the FAQs on the website. So before we get to Q&A, because we know some people drop off during the Q&A, we really want to make sure you have some information on where to go from here. So we want you to learn more about the challenge. Make sure you go to that website, check it out, scan through, read the FAQs, etc. Then go ahead and start creating your team. We actually already have a bunch of teams on the platform from when we launched a few days ago. Excuse me. Go to that Institute of Competition Sciences platform that Josh just showed you and create that team. And then please keep an eye out for updates on the team agreement and eligibility. We will email the entire mail list when we have that team agreement available for your review and signature, input and signature. So please keep an eye out for that. We'll also post it both on the Institute of Competition Sciences website and the University of Alabama website. Milestone round submissions will open October 1st. However, before that, obviously you can set up your account, and hopefully soon you'll have the team agreement on there that you could work on too. And then those open on October 1st for the milestone round, and they close on January 22nd at 4:00 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you get your submission in between that. If you have any questions, as a reminder, the only way we can respond to any questions is through that lunarecycle@ua.edu email address. Anything that comes to Centennial email address, to our LinkedIns, to our personal emails, phone calls, we cannot respond to. And then most importantly, just stay connected with us. Down at the bottom of the screen, you could see where you can find us on X and on Facebook, and also where you can find us on NASA's website. Let's go to some Q&A. Again, use that function in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and we will respond to them as quickly and as much as we can. Thank you. That's all the time we have to answer questions today. But again, if you have any additional questions, please first visit our website where you can find almost all information. And then if it's not there, please email us at lunarecycle.ua.edu. We hope to see your submissions. We hope all of you participate. Thank you so much for joining us today.